Kirby Mass Attack released in 2011, right before Kirby Return to Dreamland. I feel that Mass Attack doesn't get talked about as much compared to Return to Dreamland. This game uses touchscreen controls to guide a variety of different Kirbys around the map. Sort of like, I guess you could say maybe Pikmin, although I guess that isn't necessarily touchscreen controls. But hey, this game is actually good, and so is Pikmin, of course. However, we're not here to talk about Pikmin or that. We're here to talk about some mini-games. What exactly kind of mini-games we're talking about? Well, this game is just a treasure trove chock full of all sorts of mini-games. How to unlock these is you need to collect medals in the main game, so I guess in a sense we are kind of talking about the main game. But there's all sorts of different games you can check out, such as Whacking Some Moles, a very basic curtain call. And is this a reference to a multiplayer game in Kirby 64? Or is it just Kirby trying to find the right PlayStation button on his controller? Yeah, these games aren't exactly setting the world on fire in particular. I mean, they're kind of just simply basic distractions, and then you just sort of move on with your day. But it is honestly really cool to see this little game that references Kirby 64 in a sense. And also, Curtain Call, it's pretty easy, I have to say, and gets very tedious with the music after a little while. But those games aside, of course, we're going to talk about some actually really cool things. How about Kirby Brawl Ball? Kirby Brawl Ball is, in a sense, probably the most closest we're going to be able to get to a sequel of Kirby Pinball Land. A lot of people are kind of mixing Kirby Pinball Land, but I have to say Kirby Brawl Ball really just kind of makes a more modern feel of Kirby Pinball Land in a sense. It isn't necessarily, of course, a sequel or a direct sequel to Kirby Pinball Land, but it's probably the closest once again thing we're going to get to Kirby Pinball Land. There's all sorts of cool little references you can see in there, such as Kine at the bottom, which he grabs the ball and spits it out as sort of a, your last-ditch effort. Cool boss fights you can do just like in Kirby Pinball Land. And of course, all sorts of cool little tiny just details you can control with your flipper, such as a tack, which grabs the ball and you get some bonus points for doing that. And just really all sorts of cool little things chocked throughout this entire game. Now, I have to say, this one, in itself does kind of suffer the fact that it's a pinball game and you don't exactly have a ton of control. That being, you're probably going to end up dying very stupid deaths or uncontrollable deaths in a sense, and you're going to be getting a few game overs. When there aren't necessarily lives, there's just really things that protect your ball from falling into the pit. But once again, you're going to see all sorts of kind of stupid deaths that will happen, and it gets kind of frustrating over time. It is interesting with the boss fights, though, where there isn't a health bar for Kirby. It's just, can we, shoot Kirby down to the bottom? And just like Kirby Pinball Land, that's the best the boss is going to be able to do to you. And it becomes more infuriating than good in a sense. But there's all sorts of different bosses you can fight throughout this game, which is pretty freaking cool. And, it's a pinball game, so if you like pinball, then hopefully this is up your alley. It is nice to get the return of Ball Kirby once again, which I know we had a lot of that with, Kirby Canvas Curse, but hey, Kirby Mass Attack in itself, I think this might be the better touchscreen game on the DS in a sense for Kirby. Moving on then, we have Straight Up Patrol EOS. What exactly does EOS stand for? I don't know, there's all sorts of things for some reason that starts with EOS. But this is, in a sense, basically a shmup of Kirby, where you start off in sort of a grassy-looking plains, and you get to get more Kirbys to increase your firepower. It is, in a sense, a literal reference to the game we're playing on, Kirby Mass Attack, because there's multiple Kirbys, although those Kirbys in the main game don't end up shooting beams from their mouth. You can collect different power-ups, or I guess P, you could say, to make your firepower even stronger. I believe you can have up to 10 Kirbys on the screen at once, and it becomes harder and harder to keep them alive. You get a sort of score bonus if you're not able to take damage, which is, very nice to get all the rack up your high scores. It's really nice with all the variety of enemies that appear on screen, such as some basic enemies you see in the main game that shoot nuts. You also get to fight a boss at the very end, too. And you also have a screen nuke, which you get 1 for clearing each level. I thought originally you got 3, so I ended up wasting all mine at first, but these screen nukes are nice because you become invulnerable for a short period of time. Now, you will see these skull enemies float around to be able to get extra Kirbys as time goes on. But your main focus in this game will be on the bottom screen, since really the top screen is just your score and top score, which, I mean, hey, it's a DS game, and you do use the touch screen as well, speaking of DS game, to be able to rotate the Kirbys around the map. There's a lot of cool different boss fights that happen in this, and it really just becomes more and more challenging to be able to dodge any enemies without taking damage. The more Kirbys you have, the harder it will be to dodge, because, in a sense, the Kirby behind will be delayed, and it's probably going to be the Kirby that's going to end up taking damage, and then there goes your nice combo, in a sense. Also, this is probably the first and only time in quite some time you're going to be seeing Sailor Waddle Dee. I mean, come on, where the heck has Sailor been for so long? Ever since Mennonite Ship went down, we have a lot of questions exactly what happened to everyone on there. I mean, what the heck happened to that bird captain guy? But Straight Up Patrol EOS is certainly one of the more top-tier Kirby games on here, and I might say it might be one of my favorites. at least in this current day and age. Next, we probably have my most interesting minigame to me personally, although at least I would say it was the most interesting to me as a kid. And I might say Straight-O Patrols might be one of my more favorite, or Brawl Ball, but this to me still has a very special place in my heart. Kirby Quest. Now, what's also great about this? Of course, it's got the Mass Attack appeal once again, where as you defeat enemies over time, you gain experience and gain more small Kirbys to be able to do more damage. Yeah, that's right. This is an RPG. This is before those frickin' free-to-play mini-games that run the 3DS, and I guess, the one on Switch, which, why exactly did we need that of all things? Why can we have a port of Mass Attack on the Switch? Before you say anything that won't exactly work very well on the Switch, there is a touchscreen for a reason. We can play it just fine in handheld mode. It's not taken advantage now. But anyways, that being said, of course, out of the way. There's all sorts of cool attacks being able to do, depending on this meter that goes up and down. It's a pretty easy game, though, depending if you've got some good timing skills. If you end up missing, your Kirbys are going to be taking damage, and that's not good. Once all the Kirbys go down, then it's a game over. Depending on where you end up slotting the meter, if it's like one of the darker kind of, I guess, lower shades of red, I should say. You do the minimal attack you can possibly do. You do a little bit darker red, you get a more powerful attack, and then if you do the pink awesome move, that allows you to do the most powerful move. And in doing so, revives all your downed Kirbys as well, so really an even greater incentive to be able to hit that awesome meter right there. There's all sorts of cool little references with the attacks, from be it laser beams, hammers, or maybe even that little tornado move. We also have to get to see cool little anime references in this too. Yeah, I don't know what it is with this, but there's a bunch of emphasis on anime, Dreamland 2, and one little small nod to Squeak Squad, which is certainly odd, I will say. That's probably because, well, this game does have a bit of a nod to that in a sense. But yeah, you get to see the cool little electric Kirby. That was from the Kirby anime, which was shown for me personally. I remember first in the 3DS from Nintendo Video. Who remembers that? But in a sense, actually, this was first shown in Japan, this Kirby episode, a special episode on the Kirby channel for Wii, something we did not get here in the States. You also get to see, that macho guy from that one Kirby episode, which, yeah, it is kind of neat seeing this pop in here, but it really made me question as a kid, what exactly is this reference to the anime? Because I could tell this is from the anime based on the art style. But we get to see things like Escargoon as well, when King Dedede attacks, and we also get to see some beta elements from that one Kirby Adventure game that was canceled on the GameCube as a boss in the second chapter. And then the final boss for this is Dark Matter, which I always really liked, and for me personally, what made me like Dark Matter a lot more because of that. I guess in a sense, it's just I like him because of the Game Boy lore. My love for the Game Boy, and then of course, in Kirby Quest. But once again, this game will always hold a special place in my heart. Kirby Mass Attack has all sorts of cool mini-games, and it would be really nice once again if we got a port like this to some sort of console. It's kind of a bit unlikely, considering that Nintendo just seems to do what Nintendo wants to do, and, but hey, if you have a copy, if you have any ways to be able to play this game, go check it out and enjoy it. It's honestly a fantastic game in the DS, and it came out, the 3DS was already out, so got overshadowed, I feel, in that sense. Definitely a phenomenal, stellar, and fantastic title on the Nintendo DS, along with in the Kirby series.